It has become...
Do you have a temper?
Not too much of a temper, believe it or not. No, I don't have too much.
But I remember you saying in an article once, you believe in an eye for an eye.
That's true. I believe when somebody, and I was going to use a different word, but I think I can't on network television, but when somebody gets you, you want to get them. And I believe it. And, you know, maybe that makes me... That's true. I've always believed it.
Donald Corleone. No, but being president, you'd have to be more diplomatic.
Well, you'd be diplomatic, and you tone it down a little bit. But the fact is that, you know, I do believe in retribution.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q post. Q warning us of social media platforms like Twitter having massive accounts on there where they spread disinformation to go after QAnon. We're going to talk about what that looks like. Plus, we have more Antifa terror as downtown Seattle becomes a war zone with warlords and extortion rackets. This Capitol Hill autonomous zone, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to look at the major news that the fake news will not talk about. So you guys want to stick around and check out that and a whole lot more. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You know, today we have a great show for you. You know, I always like to remind you, though, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please come here, click the big red subscribe button, then hit that bell and select all so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. Also, stick around at the end of the episode. We do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, we're looking at the book of James, and we're going to be talking about faith and works. And specifically, we're going to focus on verse 20 out of chapter 2, where it says, "Are you willing to learn that faith without works is useless?" And we're going to talk about what that means. And I hope you guys do stick around for that at the end. Now, we're going to get into the latest Q post as usual. We left off at Q post 4446, picking up at 4447. And we have a lot of information to get through, plus a few major news stories and some other information that I really think we need to get out there. But before we get into the latest Q post and news, we're going to take a minute to recognize that this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser, and it's a product that I really encourage everyone to try out if you haven't done it yet, especially if you're on a desktop or a laptop, because it blocks the ads and it works better than Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or whatever you're using right now, whether it's that or Apple Safari. And it also has a bunch of functionality built into the product, and it's free. So you can use the link in the description to let them know I sent you, and download it, install it, and run it. You're going to get a great product, and they'll make a contribution to this channel. So it's a win-win. So I really encourage everyone to go check out the Brave Browser today. You can download it for free using the link in the description. All right, so let's get here into the latest Q post, 4447. We're picking up here with Real Candace Owens' tweet. And if you guys aren't following her work, you should. She has a lot of great content and information that she puts out regularly. But it says, wow, this video is really important and every person needs to watch and share it. Black Lives Matter donations go directly to a super PAC called Act Blue that has given hundreds of millions of dollars to Democrats running for president. How is this legal? BLM is literally a shell company. Yeah, and she's not making it up either. If you watch through this video, which it's almost impossible because of the size of the font here, so when I make it full screen, you can kind of see that they're going on, their iPhone and looking up all this information about Black Lives Matter, right? So it goes to this actblue.com. What is actblue.com? Well, it says it's a charity registered as for distributing money to Democrats running for president. You can't make this stuff up, right? You actually look at their expenditures here on opensecrets.org for Act Blue, and you scroll down, and you see here, they're going to scroll down, and it goes through where all the money goes. Oh, Bernie 2020, Biden, Warren, Pete, and we're talking about 50, 70, 90, 100, 180, 120 there, $1 million being given to these people, and it's funneling through this organization, right? And right there it says, and that, my fellow Americans, is how white-collar money laundering is done. I'm sorry they stole the words Black Lives Matter, because they do, but this organization is not for the black community. BLM is just another corrupt arm of the DNC, and because of this, the new hashtag is All Black Lives Matter. So, yeah, you see the information right there. It says clear as day. It's clear as day right there. So that is something I wanted to point out, and Q obviously points us to it, saying, welcome to the Democrat Party con. there we are. You see it plain and clear for yourself. The next post here Q gives us is this graphic talking about Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Patrick Leahy, Maxine Waters, and Dianne Feinstein. So this graphic points out that these people have been in Congress for sometimes 3, 4, and 5 decades, or 6 decades in Dianne Feinstein's case, and they are the ones trying to blame President Trump for the problems they never solved, right? It's funny how a guy who's a politician, as it points out here, for only 3 years is suddenly the catalyst for the destruction, or the implementation, I should say, of this systemic racism that I guess just magically never existed before he was there, but it did, but nobody really did anything about it. Everything is so confusing at this point, and it's meant to be, because that's the cognitive dissonance that we live in. Also, Q points us to this tweet right here of Samantha America, and she says, Black Lives Matter only when they need your vote, right? And this is a thought-provoking video where she just basically lays out the facts, saying that it only really matters when they need something from you, that they don't really care about Black Lives Matter. They care about furthering the political agenda of the Democrat Party. But far be it for me to put words in her mouth. I'll let you guys watch the video for yourself.
2 weeks ago, you were unable to have a funeral. If your mom, if your dad, if your grandma died, they couldn't have a funeral. And if you did try to have a funeral, you could have been arrested. You fast forward 2 weeks later, you turn on the television and there's a giant funeral, a giant memorial for George Floyd. Celebrities and politicians all there. The same people for the past couple months who were telling you if you were to go into a group of people, you could have died because of COVID-19. And here they sit at this giant funeral. A funeral in which George Floyd probably only knew 1/3 of the people actually there. A funeral in which became political. Al Sharpton was up there saying, we're going to take the White House. George Floyd's funeral became political. 2 to 3 days after that man was murdered, they told you to go vote. A week after that man was murdered, first day of primaries. And what did you do? You went out and voted. Blue, 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 just like the script told you to. Hashtag vote. Vote, 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 all over Instagram, all over Twitter. Everybody, vote, 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 vote. Why? Have you asked yourself why? What is voting going to do? We had a black president and this still happened. You think voting is going to solve racism? You're being used. You think they broadcasted George Floyd's funeral all to America because they wanted to show what a great person George Floyd was? Or do you think they broadcasted George Floyd's funeral because they wanted you to watch, so you would get angry, you would get sad, you would get mad, you would get frustrated, and you would go vote?
And there you saw it. I mean, she's got a really good point. Actually, several really good points in that video. And I think it makes more sense what she just said than what the fake news wants to tell you, and how the, Al Sharptons of the world want to frame everything. But that's just my personal opinion. You guys let me know what you think down below. Q points us to it and saying woke Q. So, yeah, people are woke to what's going on. Now, the next post Q points us to is very interesting. All right, so let me explain this for you to give you context for those of you who are new to this, but some of you might know what's happening here. Let me try to lay this out. So Jordan Sather here is pointing out that Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, follows this You're In on Central account. Now, You're In on Central account is this account with about 6.5 million followers that is all about Black Lives Matter and is all about anarchism, apparently. And they're all about the resistance. So we know this is some orchestrated left-wing activist group, but Q gives us some more information about that. See, Jordan Sather says, wonder why all assets activated QAnon, meaning this post, right, which is one of their latest ones, which is to help us liberate QAnon victims who have fallen for the QAnon or Pizzagate misdirection campaign. If you read through it, it's really all over the place, and it doesn't remotely cover all the bases, and it becomes fairly obvious about 2 or 3 posts in that it's just propaganda meant to discredit a movement that's based primarily on you trusting yourself, you thinking for yourself, you researching for yourself, and them trying to misdirect you and not give you the full story, the full picture. So I don't want to go through it point by point. If you guys are interested in doing that, please feel free. Go look at it. Go read it. Far be it, I'm not going to try to keep you from doing that. But I will tell you, it was a waste of time for me to read through it. And what I ended up coming out with the feeling of was that this is obviously being run by people who want to sow the discord, to sow chaos, because they're trying to cause anarchy, and they have a very warped view of how the world should be. I even tweeted out about this specifically on my account to kind of give it clarity for people who were confused. And the tweet I put out was basically saying that QAnon, we know what it is. Milintel plus civilians around President Trump and the administration. Q plus is obviously President Trump, right? And then I said, this Anon Central account is run by an anonymous group whose motivations are completely unclear. But Q, what we see hints that it might be at Jack in Twitter. And we're going to see what that means right now. Where Q says, not anonymous, but Twitter, owned and operated, a creation to combat Q, aka you, Q. So understand that there is an information war happening. Q said that multiple times, and here you have an example of this major account that obviously grew to 6.5 million followers, I'm sure, organically, and not, not being helped by the algorithms, the same ones that hurt conservatives and keep our content from getting a bigger audience. But this is Q hinting, I think, to us that Jack is in on this, that there is some coordination between the folks at Twitter and that account, and that account is helping facilitate what's happening here. You're seeing it. Downtown Seattle has been taken over by what the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, has basically said are domestic terrorists. And they're running extortion rackets and a warlord criminal empire down there, and everybody just acts like it's no big deal. This is a major city in the United States. So that's what we're up against, and I think Q saying a creation to combat Q, aka you, meaning it's just a way to suppress free thought. It's just a way to convince you that you're in a cult, the only cult in the world that tells you to think for yourself, trust yourself, do your own research, follow logic, trust your instincts. I mean, that'd be the worst cult in the world. I mean, as far as like if you're trying to have a cult. So that's where every argument falls short for me. Q says, do Anons understand what is about to be unleashed? And I think what Q is hinting at here is exactly what we're seeing in mass across the board, right? We're seeing the declassification. We're seeing the subpoenas from the Senate. We're seeing the criminal investigations coming almost to their full conclusion here in the Durham probe. And it's going to end up proving, I believe, beyond a reasonable doubt, that there were members of the Hussein administration and our government in this, whatever you want to call it, deep state apparatus who launched an internal coup and tried to overthrow a duly elected president using fake and false information that was basically created by our adversaries and bought by the political campaign of Hillary Clinton and funneled through the DNC into the DOJ and the FBI. And if that is not the biggest story in the world, I don't know what is. But here we have COVID, we have riots, we have, burning down cities and covering up crimes by burning down police stations and just lawlessness that's being, in my humble opinion, orchestrated by forces and actors who really want to destroy this country from within. Because of two reasons. One, there are always going to be foreign adversaries who see the destruction or the weakening of America as beneficiary to the rest of the world. Two, the criminals who are inside this country who were using it to facilitate their criminal or organized crime, I should say, those individuals realize that the only way that they avoid being held to account for their crimes is to get rid of and abolish law and order inside this nation. And to create these exclusion zones like you're seeing in downtown Seattle, where individuals are not held to account to any law, and it's lawlessness. So I don't know if that's what's coming here in the it's like a fracturing of America, but I don't think that that's really the ultimate what will end up happening. But I do believe that that's what we're seeing them attempt to do, at least in small part. So here, the next post that Q gives us talks about the Democrat Party con again, and it points us to this the real deal Axelrod, Bobby Axelrod. And this is a video. You don't need the sound. It's of Al Sharpton, just getting on his private Gulfstream jet. I mean, because, he's really a man of the people. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know that when I go to get on my Gulfstream jet to go from one major city to another to do a funeral where I'm going to politicize the dead, the deceased, and to attack the sitting administration who's done nothing but help the African American community at large through policy reform and different initiatives that we can go through another time. But this is not hypocrisy at all. I mean, I have this same problem, when you get on your private jet and you turn around, there's a guy with a cell phone, it just happens, right? And then they put it on TikTok. You go, okay, what are you going to do? Man of the people here. Just, obviously I'm being sarcastic if you guys didn't pick up on it. And it is hypocrisy. This is the hypocrisy of the left, right? They cannot live in excess wealth and have private jets if you're not subjugated to them. They have to keep you afraid and keep you scared and fighting amongst yourselves so you don't turn around and go, why does Al Sharpton have a private jet? To fly around and to incite race hatred and to foment division inside of this country by, taking these cases of widely condemned violence, uncalled for, unnecessary, excessive force violence, where you saw what happened to this George Floyd character or individual, and to take that and to funnel it into this BLM movement, which then funnels hundreds of millions of dollars to certain political candidates, the major U.S. presidential candidates, to change something that they haven't changed in their 3, 4, 5, and sometimes 6 decades worth of office. Oh, I see. It's a machine. It's a political machine. It's like Tammany Hall. They're just funneling the money back into their overlords, their puppet masters. And if you get to Al Sharpton's level, you get a private jet, right? So, I mean, the hypocrisy of the left knows no bounds. The next post here that Q points us to is the Speaker Pelosi tweet, and we'll read the tweet first. She says, quote, "The statues which fill the halls of Congress should reflect our highest ideals as Americans. Today, I am once again calling for the removal from the U.S. Capitol of the 11 statues representing Confederate soldiers and officials. These statues pay homage to hate, not heritage." To which I responded sarcastically here, but not really. Nancy Pelosi put out a list of 10 statues that will replace the ones that she's, pushing for us to get rid of. And they're going to be of Captain Morgan, Admiral Nelson, Comrade Smirnoff, Commandante Cuervo, Private Patron, Lieutenant Jack Daniels, Corporal Evan Williams, Chief Jim Beam, General Hennessy, and Sergeant Jameson. Just a little humor there, a little light levity. But that is true, I think. That's the level of what we're dealing with here. But Q says, getting back to seriousness, why are Democrats attempting to remove their past as Confederates? Knowing the past helps to understand the present. Then he gives a link to this. August 7th, 1893, the Confederate general who becomes the Secretary of the Senate. It says, in the several decades that followed the Civil War, the Democrat Party, long associated with the states of the former Confederacy, struggled to restore its standing as a national political organization. After the 1892 elections, many Democrats believed they had finally succeeded in those contests for the first time since the war. They captured the presidency and gained control of both houses of Congress, symbolizing the return to national power. Senate Democrats replace the incumbent Secretary of State, a former Union Army general, with a former Confederate general. And the list, and it goes on. But the point is that everything that the Democrats try to sell you is basically a lie. And if it isn't, it's a lie wrapped in the truth, I should say. So, unfortunately, that's the state of affairs. And this next post that Q gives us is reminding us of this other post Q shared before, right? And we'll watch this video real quick.
I'm going to tell you why I fly the American flag. During the Civil War, there was two types of flags that was flying. You had the American flag that represented the Northern Republican Party. You had the Southern flag, which was a Confederate flag that represented the Democratic Party. What's the difference between both? One for freedom and one not to stop slavery. Black Americans, I want you to educate yourself. The American flag is our symbol of freedom. Without that flag, we would have lost the war. The Democrats want you to hate something that gave you freedom. Don't fall for it. Thank you.
There you heard it for yourself, right? This came from @6seal News, and this is, the way it is, putting it out there plain and clear for people to see. So, I mean, I tend to agree with this. So you let me know what you think down in the comments below, but just interesting that Q points to that and again says, welcome to the Democrat Party con. Well, we already know that. We're in the midst of it. And finally here we have this Jason Buttrell tweet, I should say, where it says, when you click to donate to Black Lives Matter, it takes you to Act Blue. If donated money goes unclaimed, Act Blue disperses the money however they want. These are the top expenditures. Like I said, $186 million to Bernie 2020 campaign, $120 million to Biden for president, $93 million to Elizabeth Warren, $78 million to Pete for America, $55 million to the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee, $43 million to Amy Klobuchar, I think, for America. Andrew Yang got $30 million. Democrat Senatorial Campaign Committee got $31 million. Democrat National Committee, the DNC, of course, got $29 million, and Amy McGrath got $29 million. So, look, you can see these numbers and just think for yourself. Ask yourself, are those the people you support? Is that what you want your money going to? Especially if you really do want peaceful but meaningful change, right? To the system at large where you see injustices. So, I mean, it's just the point is we have to start thinking for ourselves and seeing where the money goes, follow the dark money, follow where it ends up, and it ends up here in the pockets of the puppet masters of the party, right? So, who then answer to their masters and so on, right? So you see it for what it is. It's hard to explain other than to just show the facts, right? Q says the hole runs deep. Yeah, it does. So that's something to consider. Also, a few other stories here. We talked about the Seattle Autonomous Zone. Now they have armed guards and local businesses are being threatened with extortion. Now I've seen the reports, the videos, the tweets, all the information that's coming out all day. And apparently this Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, which is in downtown Seattle, is being run by you can't make this up, a rapping warlord whose name is Shizzle. I don't know what his name is. His name is something like Hot Fuzz or I think it's Raz Simone. This is the guy. So the rapping warlord is taking over, and the first thing that they do when they take over their little city, right? So they claim this is a country autonomous outside of the purview of the United States of America, right? Get this, the first thing they do is build walls. I thought walls didn't work. Okay, so they build walls. What's the next thing they do? They beg for food. Why? Because all the homeless people came and ate all their food. Interesting. Then they make open calls for more people with guns. Well, now you ask yourself, I thought that this was the party of anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment. So they want guns. Interesting. And so on. I mean, the hypocrisy of the left, as I've said before, knows no bounds. And this is not another example that is short of that. But what it also reminds me of is, I asked the question on Twitter the other day saying, Is this a domestic terrorist takeover of a major city? Or is this, you know, a community college class out for extra credit doing an urban politics course? I mean, because these people are literally just a case study in laughable hypocrisy and ignorance. So, I mean, it is what it is. You be the judge for yourself. One other thing that I thought was interesting is here's something to kind of supplement the material that we talked about here today, and talking about the takeover by this Antifa group. Think about this: the prescription of Communist Party, its successors, and subsidiary organizations as explained in 50 U.S. Code Section 842. It says, the Communist Party of the United States or any successors of such party, regardless of the assumed name, whose object or purpose is to overthrow the government of the United States or the government of any state, territory, district, or possession thereof, or the government of any political subdivision therein by force and violence, are not entitled to any of the rights, privileges, immunities attendant upon legal bodies created under the jurisdiction of the laws of the United States or any political subdivision thereof, and whatever rights, privileges, and immunities which have heretofore been granted to said party or any subsidiary organization by reason of the laws of the United States or any political subdivision thereof are terminated, provided, however, that nothing in this section shall be construed as amending the Internal Security Act of 1950. Now, I'm not sure if what the, constitutional precedents are surrounding this at the moment. I do know that it is a part of our code that if communists try to take over major cities, then they forfeit their rights, privileges, and immunities. So I would hope that right now we recognize that there's a communist insurrection happening inside of our country in major cities being orchestrated by a domestic terror group known as Antifa, which is just another assumed name of the Communist Party of the United States of America. We have to address this head on. So here's a little legal precedent for, I guess, us to look at in going forward and battling what's happening here. Also, don't forget Project Veritas doing incredible reporting and exposing the fact that George Soros and Hillary have been behind these militant Antifa groups. This one is Refuse Fascism, and they're being exposed by Project Veritas. I'll leave a link to this video if you want to get that information. There's a lot of very important information there to glean. So with that, a few other stories here. President Trump signing the executive order on blocking property of certain persons associated with the International Criminal Court. Well, now this is very interesting. I'll leave this link in the description if you guys want to read it for yourselves, but it may be dealing with certain individuals who are funding this Antifa organized crime, domestic terror. So we're going to talk about that, hopefully going into the future. And of course, this is why they're panicking and doing all the Antifa riots, the COVID, the rest. The Senate Judiciary now giving Graham sweeping subpoena powers. We'll see if he actually follows through and doesn't pull a John McCain and just pull out in the last moment and leave us all hanging as they do time and time again. We can only hope that this time it will be different. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. A few more things before we go. Watch these videos, share them, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about everything. Also, don't forget, you can find me over here, not at Rassimone, but on Twitter at JustInformYou. You can also find me at informed_news. Plus, now I'm on Parler at JustInformedTalk. Here we go. We got 1,000 followers. That's awesome. Thanks, you guys. Also, BitChute.com/JustInformedTalk is the backup channel if you want to go check that out. Plus, we have JustInformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to QAnon, news sites, breaking news, and the videos from YouTube, all available here, plus more. So go check that out. And you can also contribute if you want via Patreon, patreon.com/justinformedtalk. It's a crowdfunding website. It's a monthly donation. Your support keeps this channel going, and I can't tell you how thankful I am for all of your support. I also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to everything that we talked about today will be in the description below. Now, before we go, we do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, I told you earlier I wanted to talk about faith and works, right, out of the book of James. And to understand this, though, I want to go back to Hebrews. the book of Hebrews, I should say, in chapter 11, where it kind of defines faith for us here. Chapter 11, verse 1. It says, "Now faith is the reality of what is hoped for, the proof of what is not seen." Think about that as we read these next verses. And this is out of the book of James, and this is chapter 2, verse 14 through 26. It says, "What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can his faith save him? If a brother or sister is without clothes and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm and eat well,' but you don't give them what the body needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith, if it doesn't have works, is dead by itself. But someone will say, 'You have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without works, and I will show you faith from my works. You believe that God is one. You do well. The demons also believe, and they shudder. Foolish man, are you willing to learn that faith without works is useless? Wasn't Abraham our father justified by works when he offered Isaac his son on the altar? You see that faith was active together with his works, and by works faith was perfected. So the scripture was fulfilled that says Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him for righteousness, and he was called God's friend. You see that a man is justified by works and not by faith alone." So I think, what we really need to focus on right now is that we have to have two components, as it says here. We have to have our faith and we have to have our works, and we have to put those together every single day to help combat this evil that exists in the world, right? If we're gonna be soldiers of Christ, if we're gonna put on the armor of God every day and go out into this world and try to help others, we have to understand how to do that. And that's by keeping our faith, right? And our faith is our understanding that Christ is our Savior, that righteousness is the way, that God is the light unto our path and will lead us where we need to go and can give us things that are beyond our wildest dreams as far as what we can do in this world, but also to not forget that our faith must be supplemented by works. Otherwise, it's all for naught. And we can do that by helping others, by sharing the gospel, by going to your local community bank and a food bank and volunteering, or going and volunteering with your church, or going and, just making a difference in your community somehow. We have to lead by example. We as Christians are called to do that. It's not easy. It might be simple, it's not easy. So we have to make the effort. And I say this to remind myself as well. Because no matter how much we do, we always have to supplement our faith with works, and we always have to keep doing more and working for God. And that's how we win this battle. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you guys for watching. Remember, come here, click the subscribe button, also hit it, punch it, tap it, bop it, twist it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content. I'm going to end it with a quick prayer. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, bless us, keep us, give us the strength and courage and wisdom we need to go out in the world and to live our faith out by giving you righteous works and help others to find the path to you. And we thank you for this opportunity this day. Be with us all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, that's where I'm going to leave it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm Craig. You just watched Just Informed Talk. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.